Welcome to the Creative Island Podcast.
A show aimed at helping creative individuals transform their passion into profession.
Each episode will share powerful strategies, tips, and practical tools to empower you to create the income, the lifestyle, and the legacy you were designed for.
We are your hosts, Adam Bowman
and Jason Pepper.
Enjoy the show. Creative Island Podcast, we're back at you from another location, in the studio or in Jason's condo building. Jason, how you doing, brother? It's been a minute. We've taken a slight hiatus from each other. We haven't seen each other in like almost a month. How you been, dude?
Good, man. Good. Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Tell me about your trip, because we took a bit of a hiatus because you went on vacation.
Yeah.
How was that? How was the East Coast of Canada?
Well, it was like one of those vacations where it's like a vacation, but you're going like a million miles a minute. So like you unplug, but at the same time you plug into some other circuit board that's just like wired differently, which is good. Because, like, I bought a laptop so I could do work and the whole nine, but the first couple of days, I was like, oh, like, should I do work? Like, because we were just driving for, like, a couple hours a day, like 5 hours a day. I'm like, I can work in the back of the car as long as the battery keeps up. I'm like, should I work? Like, feeling guilty a little bit. But then by, like, the third day, I'm like, yeah, fuck this shit. Like, I'm just going to microbreweries and eating seafood and checking out PEI, Halifax, like, the whole nine. And it was a good unplug. But like I said before the podcast, as soon as I got back, it was, like, clients like, I need this video, I need that thing. And I'm just like, oh, my God, right back into the frying pan, you know? It never leaves.
Totally. Yeah. I know. That's the only thing I dislike about vacation. I try to take a good amount of vacation every year, but every time I come back, it's like a cold start. You got to kind of wake up and just jump right back to up to speed to kind of get over the hump. But
yeah, like I went back into Premiere Pro, the editing software, and I was like, oh God, how do I use this thing? But then I took the training wheels off immediately and I was back into it. But I was just like, one more week would have been nice. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's what everyone says about every vacation, like a couple more days, whatever. But you just got to get back to it and go get the bag, you know?
Yeah, man. I feel your pain. I'm sure our listeners feel your pain.
But it was much needed at the same time. If you're overworked, if you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out, go take a vacation. Go out east. If you haven't seen Halifax, go to Halifax. Beautiful. You've been to Halifax, right?
I have not.
Dude, you would love it. It's just like all on a hill, like coast all around. Like it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Walk everywhere. The thing was, when I was there, I didn't feel guilty about eating a lot of food because you're literally on like a 45-degree incline everywhere you go, or decline. So you're getting a workout, you're getting your steps and your calories. So I was just like unhinged. I gained 10 pounds. I came back and I was like, let's see the day, which was 10 pounds in 2 weeks,
scallops
bro.
And lobsters?
Yeah.
Lobster rolls on the East Coast?
No, like I had like 2 lobster rolls. Yeah, we were like, oh yeah, it was unhinged. But at the same time, you need to treat yourself to some capacity, you know, because it was the first vacation since COVID, basically, since I started the business. So it was a good unplug.
True.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, I went the opposite way the last time we vacationed this year for the first time since COVID. We went the opposite way. We went to the West Coast.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you guys went to Whistler, right?
Yeah, we did a ski trip at Whistler.
So nice. Yeah, I did that during the pandemic, like just before I started the business pretty much. Love it out there. Absolutely gorgeous. The drive out west is a little bit better than out east because we drove from Toronto to Halifax, and before I drove Toronto to Whistler and then like Vancouver. And, like, when you go through Saskatchewan, I don't know if you've ever driven through Saskatchewan, dude. It is, like, 100 kilometers with a right bank and then another 100 kilometers with a left bank. And you're like, get me the hell out of here. But once you get into Alberta, like, the mountains pop up and you're like, where the hell am I? Like, this is not Canada.
So nice,
so
man.
gorgeous.
So nice.
Anyways, dude, what do we talk about today? Enough chit-chat, dude.
Well, now that we're back at it, I wanted to go through some mistakes that we made over the years. We'll do an episode. We'll have a chit chat on maybe the mistakes, things we learned from, maybe things that our listeners can avoid, in the early years of starting our businesses. So,
You have any anecdotes to kick us off at all?
Man, when it comes to mistakes,
I know. I got so many.
I got so many. I don't think I can pinpoint one. We'll go through I got 10 here. We'll pick them apart. We'll see which ones kind of resonate with you. We'll have a chit chat and
let's do it.
And we'll go from there. So. Number one, I almost quit. Almost stopped. In your first year of business, the biggest mistake you could ever make is quit. Just stop. Don't stop. And like so many times, I almost listened to those relatives, those friends.
Oh my God, yeah.
All those people. I thought they were right at one point, and I almost quit, but I didn't. So,
like, get the cushy job. Get like, you know, the 9 to 5 or whatever. It's like, no,
You'll
I
never
don't
make it. Just play the safe. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, I was there. First year, I started doing real estate because low barrier of entry.
Sure.
Like, don't need the greatest camera gear ever or whatever. But then I was the $100 video guy. I don't know if I think I mentioned this before on the podcast, but you don't want to ever be the $100 video guy.
Doesn't sound like a good place to be.
Because it'd be like, you know, like a 4 or 5 hour shoot, then like another 4 to like 8 hours of editing. And by that time with the edits and like the re-edits and everything, it was just like, I am making no money. Like, and it's coming in late. And like real estate agents, dude, not it, man. Like I've met a couple that are great people, but like the majority are just like dudes that want to buy a Jaguar someday, and like that's what their goal is. I'm just like, yeah, I can't deal with you guys, dude. It's too much. But like, yeah, I was like I had a bad experience. I don't really want to go into it too much, but like I got like ripped off sort of thing because I was just vulnerable. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I was like, you know, I'm just like, I'm done. Like freelance sucks, whatever. But then like another client popped up in a different space, and I was like, all right, no, this is actually really cool. Like, stick at it, keep at it. And I lucky, like, I know you said, like, mention, like, the relatives sort of in your ear or whatever, but my parents have been behind my back 100% of the time, and have just basically told me to go 100% as much as you can and just keep on doing it, because, like, you build the resiliency and the intuition, and each project just gets better and better and better, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just never give up. That's the trick. But then if you give up at one thing, then you try something new, you get to that same threshold again, you give up on the next thing.
Yeah.
It becomes a habit to give up. So you just never give up, man. Never give up.
That's crazy. I never realized, like, yeah, because you build that into yourself, like, oh, when it gets hard, like, I can just walk away.
Get a certain threshold. I see guys all the time, like, not a different topic, but same, there's relevance. I see guys in romantic relationships. They go into a certain, and it's not always a time duration. It's just like, it gets to a certain point in the relationship, and they're like, no, I'm out.
Yeah.
But then they never overcome the hurdle. They go to the next relationship, same thing. They get to that same threshold at whatever time duration that is. No, I'm out.
Yeah. When the times get tough, you're supposed to stick through it, not just like pack your bags and get out, you know? Like
things get harder in life. You gotta get over the hump.
And like, if you're just chasing easy stuff, like, come on, like, I don't know. It's not it. You know what I mean? Like, work your butt off. Jump over the hurdles. Don't run through them. You know what I mean? Like,
that's it.
Yeah.
Pursue challenges. It's how it works. That's how you grow.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Number 2, do too many of the wrong things. This one's pretty straightforward. I think when you first start out, the biggest mistake you do in a business is you just try to do too many things. Try to be the everybody guy.
Yeah.
That only works so much. You know?
Yeah, and then that comes back to what we say on every podcast, just like delegate.
Why do we talk about delegation so much?
It's just it's so poignant in every single discussion, I think, like about wearing too many hats and the whole nine. Like it bottlenecks, like we were talking before, and you got to delegate to the capacity you can grow in that makes sense for your business. You know?
Totally.
Yeah,
totally. It's always relevant. I think in every one of our talks, we have some little sneak in of fucking
delegation. Yeah,
but it's so true. You gotta hand off the hats. You can't wear all the hats. And, you know, part of running a business is getting the right people in place. Yeah. And you know, that's what a company is. It's a company of people, right?
Yeah.
So
it's about the people at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, about the client, about the workers you hire or whatever, like it's about the people at the end of the day. And like you need to make sure that they're taken care of to some capacity. Cause like
totally,
you take care of them, they'll take care of you, and then it'll just grow and flourish and be this thing that no one can touch, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
And then number 3, really similar to that, when, you know, another mistake that a lot of business owners make is they try to be the CEO or the president too soon. Like I laugh all the time. I see guys that start a business and they got nothing. Their business is nothing. Like they got very little revenue. They're living off of peanuts, nothing. And their business card says president, CEO or something.
Yeah, they have the little name tag on the desk. It says CEO,
like they're quick on their LinkedIn and everything. I'm the CEO. I'm the president.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Of what?
Just started a new venture. I'm the CEO of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, what do you do? I don't know. What do you do? Whatever, you know? Yeah, I've seen that so many times on LinkedIn.
So many times. Like when you start a business, you're not a CEO right away.
Yeah, you have nothing. You're
just
the CEO.
You're just a sales guy.
Yeah,
like that's really all you are. When you start a business, as soon as you start selling a product or service to someone, you're just a sales guy.
Oh, ABS, baby.
That's it. Always be selling.
Yeah, like when I started, like to your point though, when I started 2000 Studios, like all I was like, I want to start this business so I can direct videos and films. That's like the whole thing. I didn't care about like the marketing director or whatever, like X, Y, and Z title. It's just like founded the company and I want to direct movies, and like anywhere in between, I don't really care about like the title that comes with whatever work, or you know what I mean? Like it's just
Totally.
It's just something to slap a label on, so when you go to a mixer, you can say that you're the CEO of some company that has no employees and no revenue. You know
Doesn't really mean anything. Yeah. But everybody just jumps on that really quick.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, and it's kind of it's a mistake we all make, I think. So don't make that mistake.
Fire.
Number 4, lifestyle. Start ratcheting up the lifestyle. As soon as you start getting a little too much money, I'm guilty of this. Everybody's guilty of this. You know, I think when obviously when you start a business early on, when you start getting those wins, especially when you haven't had wins, and all of a sudden you start getting them, it's really tough to not, you know,
to like rein yourself in,
indulge,
and like walk in, wait a year, and then like let it build up, and then start a little bit of indulgence and stuff like that. Yeah.
Or like, you know, like I always say that if you want to increase your lifestyle, you got to increase savings and taxes proportionally, right? So it keeps everything in check and balance. But you don't do that when you start, especially you start making, you know, tens of thousands, and that starts to come in quick, and you never had that before. Yeah. It's really easy to just go like, oh, I can afford that car payment. I can afford that insurance. I can afford those, you know, that investment. Sure.
So bad with that. And like, I don't even make enough money to like splurge on it, but like, I was just in Montreal window shopping. I'm like, you know, fuck it, whatever. It's my birthday. Let me just, and then you buy the things and you're like, why did I do that? Like, I did not need those things. It would look a lot better if I got a new lens or whatever. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, should have just put it back into the company. But it's just like, I don't know. Self-indulgence comes in different flavors and looks different.
And to some degree, you have to do it to know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sometimes you just have to go through it, and you have to have a bit of pain.
Yeah.
You have to have a bit of hardship following to kind of go, oh, yeah, that's what that is. But big mistake. Just don't keep your lifestyle way below your means. Like, live below your means. That's one of the most underrated.
Yeah, and like realize like when you do like that, make the mistake of like living above your means, like realize that mistake and be like, yeah, I don't really need to do this. It was like a momentary thing that like gave me some dopamine or serotonin rush, and then it was over, and then you're left with like no money in your bank account. Where I'm at now because of vacation rinsed my pocket. So I'm like,
But there are some guys that have to go finance the Rolls Royce, and then just figure out the payments. You know,
that's crazy,
and that's crazy. And if you're one of those guys, like, God bless you, but some guys have to do it that way. But anyway, keep your lifestyle low. As tempting as it is, businesses come in cycles. You have good times, you have bad times, and just because the times are good doesn't mean they're going to stay like that forever. And you know, you're going to have challenges. So don't ratchet things up too much. Because
I love that sentiment, but it's a little hypocritical for me to jump on that because I was just telling you about my $200 lobster dinner in Charlottetown, so it's a little bit touch and go. But I think like after that, I realized like, you know what, the indulgence is there. I liked it. It was gratifying, but at the same time, like I could have used that somewhere else that would have served me more than just like a full belly and an extra 10 pounds when I get back home, bro.
Well, these are mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
We're letting the listeners know, hey, don't do what we did.
Yeah, and I'm being vulnerable right now, so listen, you know.
Exactly. Number 5 is, you know, you think you know everything. And this one's a big one. I think everybody kind of falls into that. Because when you start a business, you do go through you get to jump some hurdles right away, especially when you first jump in. And then you get those first few wins, and you think it's just going to be like that forever. Mm-hmm. And you think you know everything. And it's a big mistake.
And then you get humbled like crazy. Like I remember you were telling that anecdote. I forget what podcast it was, when you were in that room with like the who's who of like a bunch of industries. And you're like, I'm going to be the silent guy and like just listen to people. And then like you ended up finding out there's like a whole bunch of CEOs in the room and stuff like that. And you didn't play like the know-it-all guy, and it ended up benefiting you because you didn't look like a pompous asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I've been in that situation before on like film mixers when you boast a bit and then you realize that people are like doing crazy things in the industry and just silent, being a happy human being, not splurging, not like self-indulging and telling crazy stories of all these war stories. They're just like being, oh, that's cool. And like listening to me talk about all the paranormal shows I work on and whatever, and just being like,
Totally.
what the fuck is this kid? So it's like, I think like another point to add on that just listen is better than talking in a lot of situations you're in terms of like networking events and stuff like that. Because then you gain the knowledge more and you don't look like you don't know what you're talking about. Because like when you're in a setting with a lot of knowledgeable people in your industry and like you're speaking like you know everything, these people can read right through that, and it's a terrible look on your credibility.
It's a terrible look. But then also, like we said on that podcast, all those podcasts ago, you don't learn when you listen, you don't learn when you're speaking, you learn when you listen.
Yeah.
And so if you spend all your time talking, you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
And if you're just starting out and you think you know everything, that'll come to an end really quick.
Yeah. No,
You'll attract some humbling circumstance to like let you know that you need to.
Which is the mistake though. So you got to learn that once, either the hard way or you listen to us and just like don't do it and be a little bit of quiet.
Totally.
And read the room. And if it's time to like break out a kick-ass anecdote with something, for sure, but like don't overextend yourself in that capacity, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
But that segues really nice into the next point, number 6, which is you take advice from too many people. So like there's a whole other end of the spectrum where you don't take advice from anybody, you think you know everything, but then I've also fallen victim to the fact that like I just take advice from too many people, even people that aren't qualified to give me advice, which can be equally as harmful.
But I think you need to build up a certain like threshold of like when you ingest information from someone who has like, credible information that are a couple of years ahead of you in your industry, and they think they're giving you a big service of telling you these ins and outs, but you need to be able to like ingest that and like sort of filter it and like pick out the good stuff and sort of stay away from the bad stuff a little bit,
Yeah, you can muddy the water really quick with too much junk.
Yeah.
And like I think Tony Robbins
I love that dude.
No, he's so good.
He's crazy.
He said this thing in an interview and it always stuck with me. And he's like, your mind's like a cup of coffee just sitting there on the counter.
Yeah.
And anyone can walk by and sprinkle a little bit of sugar in there.
Yeah.
And it's great. But at the same time, someone can walk by and put strychnine in there and it's ruined, right?
Ruin your day, yeah.
And so the news, the media, there's so many things out there like that could potentially taint the well.
Yeah.
And so you really got to protect what you let in and where you get advice from. Find somebody who has what you want. Like that's it. Like don't go to someone that's a lot of people that teach stuff. You know what I mean? Are people that just they haven't actually done it.
It's a dime a dozen in that space. Like I've had many professors at Humber who are great information. They've been through it all, and like their whole goal is just to give this information to the new generation. But then some, like I think we mentioned this too, where you learn, you go through school, you get your master's, whatever, that's 7 or 5 years of school, whatever. You turn around and teach. You haven't been in it. You haven't worked. You don't have that knowledge to give off. All the knowledge you have is reciprocated from your education or whatever. It's not like boots on the ground type of knowledge, which is what you need, like. And
I think there's a balance. Like I know from experience that there are great sports coaches that have never actually been on the field and never actually played, but they have this ability to like unlock, the fire in players and stuff. And so there's other
bring it out of people.
There's other ways of teaching that don't necessarily require it, but that's a whole other thing. But find someone who has what you want and go for it and listen to the right people. Because taking advice or taking feedback from too many different people, you risk muddying the water and just fucking confusing yourself for no reason.
Yeah, like I remember when I was in like second year, third year, I was just taking advice from everyone because I was like, I want to get a step ahead. I want to learn what people have learned for like the last 30 years in the industry or whatever. And a family friend I was talking to one night, just like over a couple of beers, who worked on just sort of like travel shows, very successful in the industry. And she was kind of just like, because I was telling her like, oh, I want to be director. Or I made this cool documentary. Like, this is what I want to do. And I just want to make more and just try to direct features in the whole nine. She's like, you know what? That's great. That's awesome to have goals. But at the end of the day, like you just got to think about settling into the industry and just getting work as much as you can. And maybe those dreams are just dreams and not going to be like fulfilled. I'm like, dude, like I appreciate it, but like I can't think that when I'm like 22, 23. Like maybe when I'm 40 and it's not hitting yet, it's time to like dial it back a bit.
Man, she was just trying to extinguish your flame.
Yeah, and I was like, I really appreciate it. I know it's coming from a good place, and it wasn't like stop doing what you're doing. And like there's like again, like what I said, filter it. And like I took some good where it's like you can have dreams and sometimes they don't work out, but when you're young, just go for it because you have nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose.
So I was just like, that's sick, but like can't think that way just yet. Like I have another 15 years before I can like, you know what, I'll just find like whatever if it's not working, you know?
Yeah, totally. Next one, number 7. Another big mistake, not understanding what entrepreneurship means.
Ooh, okay.
And so this is kind of big. Like we can open this one up a bit. But what comes to mind for me right away is like, I didn't realize what it meant to be an entrepreneur. What it really means is you're a salesman. Like you're a persuasive person. You're the broker between a product or service and the end user. And well, that's what you are in the beginning.
Yeah.
But that's the basis of what entrepreneurship is. And you look at any organization, sales is usually the path to ownership.
Yeah.
You know, in marketing, there are like marketing.
It's all the facets in between and yeah.
But yeah, it's understanding sales. Ultimately, you're communicating with the end user, and entrepreneurship is just really understanding the product and really understanding the end user simultaneously.
Yeah. You know? It's really hard to sell a product when you don't understand what your product is.
Totally.
And that's like when I said before about real estate, I didn't understand what I was doing. I just wanted to make videos, but I didn't understand like the video is a product. That's like a service or whatever.
Totally.
And I was like, once you learn how to package that, you can just get a lot more and just snipe clients. And
but it's persuasion on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's like you also have to persuade other people to like do things for you for compensation. You have to persuade like other organizations and wholesalers and referral partners. And it's really just a huge game of persuasion.
Yeah.
On like so many different fronts.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, because I know this was me, is like you're scared to get into that space because you have to be cunning, you have to pull out all the guns and really figure it out. But when like you don't know how to sell, you're sort of timid and whatever, but you have to make the mistakes for the first couple of years and fall and like eat shit all the time to understand like saying like one sentence in like a sales pitch could ruin the entire thing. So you really got to button it up. So now I'm like at a space where I'm just doing that, where I've like sometimes like overshared, like not the vision, but just like talk too much, like fill those dead spaces, and you end up losing that person, and then like the product's ruined. And like instead of getting $3,500, you get like 15 for the project, and it's just like not what you wanted out of it. But it's just because some little thing, because you just haven't done it enough. So it's just like do it as much as possible.
Yeah, there's a really cool thing, and like just repetition, fail, like you're going to fail in sales. But you fail fast.
Yeah.
You know,
fail fast. Love
fail,
that. Yeah.
Fail hard, fail fast, and like get the education from it as soon as you can. Like I wish I learned real sales way sooner. Like I would have been way better off. Like if I could go to school for one skill, like if I was coming out of high school or something all over again or going into university, I would be like, who can teach me how to sell?
Yeah.
Because as soon as I learn how to sell, like the world's your oyster.
Yeah. But now it's good in this climate, but it's like, unfortunately for you, it wasn't the same as it is for me. But now like I could go do a film degree and then come home and go on YouTube for 6 hours and get all that information without paying. I mean, it's not the same as like classroom setting, you know, you learn it from like professors and whatnot, but at the same time, the information is out there. You can go attack it and grab it in whichever capacity like suits you. Cause I know a lot of people, they're not necessarily like the academia world or whatever, but like there's so many opportunities to get that information into your head, you know?
Yeah, there's like education doesn't mean school.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Classroom.
Yeah.
Education means whatever to whoever. It's just like, it's literally the process of just like gaining a new skill.
Yeah.
And you don't need to go to a classroom to do that. You probably get more skills from not being in a classroom.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Totally. Yeah. You know? When it's not like a technical pursuit, because like sales is literally like people skills, learning how to read the person. Yeah, communication, and like I said before, like not oversharing and being comfortable with silence.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm still trying to get over with, is that like silence is okay, You just have to be patient and wait, because if you fill those gaps, you just say something that you're not supposed to, essentially, you know?
Yeah, like really with sales, like when you really start to understand sales, you understand the power of questions and how to position questions. And as soon as you start to do that, the space no longer seems like so big and daunting, because you've just given them something really really powerful to think about, and their response is going to dictate your next move, and it becomes more of a muscle memory thing.
Yeah, because like the more questions you ask, you can assess like the problem that you're trying to solve. And if you don't, if you have a client and you don't know what their problem is, and you're trying to throw products at them, they're just going to be like, I don't like.
Well, you're going to overwhelm them right away. You got to use questions. You have to build rapport and use questions in a way to figure out what it is that person wants.
And then get a baseline and then start at some point. And
when you know what they're looking for, then you can frame your product or service in terms of what they value, and that's how you get sales. Like that's all sales is. Yeah. You're figuring out what somebody wants and how the product or service you're selling is going to help them get what they want through the product or service. Like
bada bing, bada boom. Exactly.
That's all it is. Yeah. But then, so that's entrepreneurship, is really selling and persuasion. But then there's a whole other lifestyle with it too. Like entrepreneurship's like a lifestyle, and it's like, it's in your personal relationships. It's in your family relationships. It's in your relationship with yourself. It's a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
And the sooner you come to terms with that, and the sooner you understand it and get behind the bull and just.
Yeah, because like to that point, like you, like as an entrepreneur, you don't really ever leave the office. You know what I mean? Like
it's with you all the time.
You're always like,
it's part of your life.
You're at the bar, you meet someone, they're in the industry, they might have an opportunity for me. And then it just starts going, and you're like, I'm working at 2 a.m. Like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. But then you just realize, like, no, like, I don't turn it off. Like, sell, or at least attack the opportunities that present themselves to you.
It's really tough. It's like, it's a super creative pursuit that's really fulfilling. But with that comes, like, the fact that you're just working all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but it's exciting because you're pursuing something that's meaningful, and you know, when you start to get the rewards of that and it starts to work. But yeah, it's so interwoven into personal life and relationships and business. It's the separation idea, like that's for the 9-to-5ers.
Yeah, no, exactly. Where it's like,
there's no separation. It's all interwoven.
I'm gonna crack the moose head, get out of here, and like for the like till 10, go to bed, wake up 9, you know, but like entrepreneurship never turns off.
Never turns off.
That's why I found out
why do you want it to turn off?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The other thing.
Because like I remember like when I was on the trip, it was like, what do you do? And I'd be like, freelance filmmaker. And they're like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm just try to like be like, is there something there? And then if there's not, you know, you just have a regular conversation with like, you know, like an everyday person that necessarily can't give you an opportunity or whatever. But it's still really cool to have those relationships, because then you can build a network. Then, you know, you add them on Instagram or whatever. They're like, I know X person that does this. Like, I'm at some agency. We need some of that. And you have no idea when that is going to come full circle and work for you again. Totally. Just because you presented yourself, you're a good person, honest, pitched it in like a, you know, not like a super shove it down your throat manner. And then it worked in your regard like 6 months later or some shit like that, you know?
You're always on.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
But it's not even a bad thing. Like, it only sounds bad to like the 9-to-5 brain. The 9-to-5 brain goes, man, I'm looking for the escape. I'm looking for that vacation. I'm looking for that weekend. You know, Monday blues, Wednesday hump day. Yeah. Thank God it's Friday. Same routine. Like, if you're stuck in that routine, you're going to look at entrepreneurship like, oh God, who wants to do that? Who wants to work all the time? But it's a different mindset. It's totally different.
Yeah, I experience that sometimes on set, because people who are just day players, that's like all they do. Because like I go on set and do like the PA jobs, the production assist jobs, just so I don't have to go, you know, fill the gaps with like a Starbucks job or whatever, which is totally fine at the same time. But for me, I'm like, I'd rather just spend my time in the industry, get the bag, whatever. And like you can tell like some people are just like waiting for Friday to come, and it's just like, I don't really want to surround myself with these people too often, because it eats away at you. And then you start living on their like psychology, where it's like, hump day, like, let's get over hump day. Friday, like, wrap out day, like, let's get through this day. And it's just like, this is just a regular day. It could be a Saturday, it could be a Friday, it could be a Monday. Like, this is just a regular day. Like, you don't put yourself in that box, you know?
Totally.
Yeah. Before you go, sorry, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was going to say entrepreneurship is like, You work every day like it's Monday, so one day every day is like Saturday.
I love that, dude. Clip it. Clip it.
Number 8, not using a schedule. And I remember in the beginning, I wasn't even that busy. Like, I think everything was pretty manageable. Like, I remember going off the cuff for a while.
Yeah.
Like, where I had I scheduled some stuff, but then other stuff was just like, no, I remember that. I'll be there Tuesday. I have it in here. Yeah. No problem. I'll be there on Thursday. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then it all catches up with you really quick. And what happens is you get programmed to like do some stuff on the calendar and some stuff off the calendar, and then you just miss.
Yeah, and then you're like trying to pick and choose like what should go on the calendar. It's like, just put it on the fucking calendar.
Put it in the calendar. Yeah. Like, man, Gmail, like I use Gmail, like Google Calendar is awesome.
Yeah. I have my Gmail calendar linked to my like Apple calendar. And like I started that, I think probably, I want to say like a year and a half ago. Because like you said, like I was missing shit, missing deadlines, like for school and work. And I was just like,
where you don't get enough runway for stuff. No. Like things just pop up and you're like, oh shit, that's this week?
Yeah. And like
I gotta go back and prep or whatever.
And like if you have a really hard week and you take a step back to decompress for like a couple hours on like a Sunday or whatever it is, you're like, oh fuck, I had to do this on Sunday and now I'm behind for the rest of the entire week. And now I'm just like fighting to get back to like, you know, mid game basically. Totally. So like when I started like just use, it's so easy.
It's so easy.
You book a gig, put it in the calendar. You don't have to think about it. It pops up on your phone in the morning and it tells you have to do this today.
It's so bush league just to be running around trying to piece it all together. You know, just I schedule everything now. I schedule personal time. I schedule like
you do even down to personal time. Too, eh?
Oh yeah, it's all chalked up.
Okay.
Like I do like, you know, in the evenings. Like I don't always follow like my meal schedule and stuff, but Google Calendar is like, dude, stop, have some lunch. Like, hey, it's 10:30, drink some water. You know, like it all pops up because I'm so busy and there's so many things going on in a day that like I need the reminders. Like I'm not good enough on my own. Yeah. Like I need the support from technology. And the sooner you start that, the sooner you implement that, the sooner you kind of build the habits around it, just getting it all integrated. It
also saves you so much time.
So much.
Because like, let's say it's whatever day, you're like, oh, I did X, Y, and Z on my calendar. I'm free. I can sort of get ahead on a project, whatever. You get to like 7 p.m., client hits you up, hey, where's this X, Y, and Z? Oh, shit, I wasted 5 hours trying to get ahead, and now, I'm like I said before, I'm behind a day because I just didn't have it in, and just because I thought I was going to be in the good old noggin, and it wasn't there, and it's just like you crumble. And then your credibility takes a hit at the end of the day too, which is just worse for wear for everything at the end of the day, you know? Like,
yeah, it's just sloppy.
Yeah.
Bush League for
sure, yes. And it's the one thing, it's free 99, baby. You don't have to like get these apps that are like, because when I was getting into the calendar game, like I paid for one. And then I was just kind of like, this is stupid. Like, I'm just going to use my Apple Calendar because it's the exact same thing. It gives me push notifications the whole nine so it can hold me accountable. Like, you don't need to pay for some crazy bells and whistles thing.
Doesn't have to be fancy. No. You can use an old school one. Like, I used to have like an agenda. Yeah. Remember agendas?
Yeah, bro. Man. Middle school, baby.
Man, I used to use an agenda. I still have like a little flip book that I use once in a while when I got to jot something down, because sometimes I find writing it's easier than finding my notes and starting a new page and writing it out. Like, I find I kind of lose momentum.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, I can whip it out and like just write it down. It's sometimes faster.
I mean, to that point, I'm a sticky notes guy. Like, if you see my room, like I have, it's like monitor, and then my PC is right here, and it's basically just like 2 by 3 foot glass pane, and I have the whole thing filled with sticky notes, and like I'll be on the phone writing it down. I'll put it up, put it in the phone, and then throw it out, sort of thing. Just because like it's just easier to just like write it out, I feel like, and then you have the memory is connected to the hand of writing it down, and then it's like triple ingrained in your system once you have it in the calendar too. So it's just it's like a fail safe. And then I also find it rewarding, like when you tick stuff off the calendar, because it just adds to that. Like, oh, I'm being like I'm just being on the ball today. I'm like optimizing my time, doing everything I can to go out and attack the day. You know, like it feels really good to get those small wins.
It's like that's everything, man. Like even tonight, like before we sat down to do this podcast, right? We're doing like a late session tonight for the podcast. That's okay. And like beforehand, I was getting all my stuff ready for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Like I have to lay out like what my team does in a week. So like I do I call it my production calendar, right? The things we're going to produce over the course of X, Y, and Z, whatever, days, weeks, months. And they need to know what they're doing when they get there. They need to, when their breaks are, when their lunches are, what I expect to be done by this time. Yeah. So when I check in during the day, I have some reference point, but that all starts from me planning this ahead of time. So I know, because it's my money. I want to make money just like everybody, right?
Yeah.
And if I let everybody just figure it out on their own, they'd burn all my money away, right? So...
And then like they can also, if you're not like on top of it and you know, like you're the capo, you know what the hell's going on. If you don't, people can just like people like that, like employees can just come and be like, you know, kind of like if they're good talkers, be like, oh no, we're on the ball, blah, 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 blah. But you're like, no, I know that you're supposed to be here, but you're like a day behind in the project. Like we need to pick up the pace or whatever.
Oh yeah. Scheduling will help you nip all that
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's easy for people to fall behind and then do a really good job of convincing you that they're not behind.
Yeah.
Or that there was some unforeseen circumstance.
Some excuse
that made them fall behind.
Yeah.
Which could just be like their way of.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. We can have that on but that'd be a good podcast.
That'd be a good one too, yeah.
Because I've got a lot of experience with.
Yeah, I bet you do too. Yeah.
Good and bad. Okay, next one, number 9.
Number 9?
Not focusing on health and wellness.
Ooh, big.
We're both into this.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
This
huge.
This is huge.
Huge.
Because I would grind forever. I wouldn't even eat for like 8-9 hours. I just work.
Yeah.
I remember I was so anxious in the beginning because, you know, you're always chasing dollars in the beginning, right? You're always making sure that, you know, you just keep feeding the meter.
Yeah, 100%.
And hoping you don't sink.
You need shit in the tank to get stuff done. 100%,
yeah, and you just always, like, I remember, I mean, this never ends as an entrepreneur, no matter how big or how small or where you are in the journey. You're always looking for money, right?
Yeah.
Cash flow is a huge thing in the business. You're always trying to kind of just fill the voids, right?
Yeah.
And bridge the gap between projects or...
It makes a business at the end of the day, too. Like, you need cash flow. Like
cash flow is everything, and you'll see that it doesn't matter how big. Like, I remember even reading stories of, like, Steve Jobs, and, like, even when Apple would, like, had pretty credible success, like, they weren't in their infancy whatsoever, he still was chasing money, and he was still spending all his time raising cash to get the next round of computers out or get the next round of retail stores up and functioning. And he was constantly chasing money. And like in the beginning, it's even worse. And it's so easy to kind of put the health and wellness stuff on the back burner.
But then like, it's crazy because at the end of the day, like you can only go so long without taking care of yourself before your business starts to decline and you're like, what's going on? And it's like, well, you're not healthy.
Well, that's
mentally and physically, like it's just going to take a hit for sure.
So that's the thing I want to get into. Like you can go for a good chunk without worrying about it.
Totally.
But it's not sustainable. It's not the long-term solution.
Yeah.
And the reality is with business, you're not going to get success overnight.
Yeah.
You're not going to get success on a whim or by some fluke or by some you know, one-off kind of thing. You're gonna win in business because you've been doing it and you've outlasted everybody else.
Yeah,
you want sustainable. You want to play the long game, but you can't do that without your health.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's got to be integrated into the thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like my favorite artists, one was Jean-Michel Basquiat, New York cat, fucking amazing art, love his art, and Andy Warhol, and like. Andy Warhol lived off of tomato soup and saltine crackers. Dude went crazy. Like he, you know, not healthy at all.
Yeah, not good.
Upstairs and like physically. And I love Basquiat, but he lived off heroin and like alcohol. You can't do it. Like crazy art, but like if you're gonna make crazy art for 2 years and then end up like, you know, like not being able to do it ever again because you're just physically incapable or you pass away, like. On some circumstances, like it's not going to serve your art or yourself at all. Like you have to take care of yourself in order to keep on doing what you love.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. Like, but then you learn really quick when you start your business that your health and wellness has a lot to do with how quickly and effectively you do stuff. Mm-hmm. And so if you're like kind of groggy because you worked all night, you didn't plan properly, so you wound up working on something till the wee hours of the night, and you had something early scheduled, and you're like just stringing your days along, the business is going to take a hit. And you'll
Yeah.
learn really quick that your
Yeah.
health and wellness, your performance and the business's performance are super correlated.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're totally interwoven. And so the sooner you take control of your health, the sooner you get to be more efficient, more effective, and it just makes everything easier. All right, number 10.
Big number 10.
Number 10, wrap things up pretty quick here. Adopt too many bad habits.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
See this all
That's
the time.
me in a nutshell, dude.
But yeah, oh man, that's everybody who's. But you know, when you get into business early on, you start to get compensated more than you've ever been compensated, and you get a little bit of that, like, you know, you want to indulge, you get a bit of sense of power, you kind of go out. You go to the nightclubs, you go to the bars,
Flashing lights, the bottle service,
your clothes,
you
get to buy nicer clothes, and you kind of want to be the center of attention. You adopt bad habits, man. You start drinking.
Yeah.
Drinking's
Too
brutal.
much.
Too much.
It's like, again, like moderation. It's great.
Yeah, everything within moderation.
Yeah.
I mean, there are business guys out there that'll tell you, like, I don't drink at all. I don't do this. And like, I think that hey, if that works for you, great.
Totally. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Like, I think that everybody's different, but you know what your limit is. And I think way too many people go way past the limits.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like drugs is one that's like an outlier for sure, because like there's so many different ones that people use for different reasons. And like, cause I know a lot of copywriters and like article writers like are crazy on the Adderall, and like it just like keeps them going. But at some point, like,
it's not sustainable.
just going
right?
back to health and wellness, like you can't put yourself through that, because like you're just going to be fiending that hit of like the Adderall with the work, and then like that's all you're going to be doing, and then that's just a bad habit. And then like at some point, like we just said, it's going to stoop down and decline and just like take
There's
a hit.
no magic pill. Like
No.
creating a bunch of spikes in creativity and peaks and valleys, like highs and lows and highs and lows, it's just going to wear you out. And it's not actually going to give you the productivity that you think it's going to give you.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah, like when I first started writing, I thought like it was all coming from just like smoking weed. But what I realized was like it was the time that I was spending when I was doing it, where it was just like all for myself. So I was like, oh, I don't need like drugs to do that. I can just sit by myself and think a lot, and then do it that way, and then have a clear head and go into it about with a head on my shoulders, instead of just like relying on this one thing and then just sort of vicariously working that way and like hoping something works. But then you like read it the next day and you're like, this is gibberish. Like this doesn't make any
So funny.
And it's just like, don't do that. Like you can indulge in whatever you want, but like work time is work time, and get it the fuck done. And like for me, like I like doing all my work sober. Like, I mean, we're having a couple pints here, but like in terms of like actual work, editing, whatever, like I want my head on my shoulders. I want to problem solve efficiently, quickly, optimize everything. You know what I mean? And like you said, there's no magic pill. It's not like you're going to take a pill like that one movie with Bradley Cooper in it, Limitless. He finds this drug where he can like solve algorithms. I was saying, it's like, it's a funny, goofy movie, but like it doesn't exist in our culture or world we live in.
Yeah, it
you know?
doesn't. Oftentimes it just becomes, it just becomes a crutch that winds up making us less productive in the end. Like almost every time. I used to work with this band years ago, and they were good friends of mine. And I found it was so funny. They felt more productive when we would go into the studio late night. It'd be like heavy drinking, all kinds of everything you can imagine, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's all the good stuff that happened.
I got a picture in my head. I think
on those sessions. And it's so funny. We would get a certain amount of work done in those kind of sessions. But then I really like early mornings. I'm a farm boy. I grew up, in the country.
Get up with the rooster and the sunrise.
Just getting up early, man. Getting up early, cup of coffee, watching the sunrise. And it was so funny. I finally got this band to start doing morning sessions. And I was wrestling with them for a long time to make this happen. But it was so funny. As soon as I got them in a room with lots of natural sunlight, pot of coffee brewing, the smell of coffee in the air, we had we arranged everything in a nice, they all had Persian rugs and mics.
Oh, nice.
Everybody was facing each other. It was in this big circle. Everybody had a headphone rig. It was nice. Sun coming in. There was views. There was, some nice kind of rural areas where this was. And they were way more productive. Woke up, cup of coffee, no drugs, no alcohol, no nothing. And we'd work from, 8 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And those hours, I think, are the most productive in a day. It's unbelievable how many problems you can overcome, or songs you can write, the challenges, transitions, like whatever you're working on, the probability of success in that time is so high relative to the rest of the day. Like, you think you're going to go to the studio at 9 o'clock at night and be as productive? I don't care what you're taking.
It's an excuse to drink and party at the end of the day.
I've seen it. It's just, that's all it is, right? It's just like, it's almost like it's just a bad habit. It's a lazy habit.
Yeah, I've been like, when I first got into it, when I was doing the whole like what I used to say is like I put the free and freelance, where I would just go out and try to meet people. You know what I mean? And I'd be in like studio situations with all rappers. I'd just be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are we making music or are we doing drugs? Like, what is going on? And I'd be like trying to film like someone in the studio, like in the booth, like vocal booth, doing like backtrack, trying to get their vocals done. Being like, dude, you're fucking blitzed. Like, you can't do anything. Like, this is so non-conducive to good work. If like, you know, like do the 8 to 2 and then do whatever the hell you want. It's your free reins. You got like, if you're living that way, like whatever. But at the end of the day, like if you can optimize it past the 8 to 2 and keep on going and do more work, then you're just going to be more successful than anyone else.
It really separates the boys from the men.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's what it comes down to. Like, I'm telling you, 8 a.m. session, lots of natural sunlight, get in a cozy room with your instruments or whatever your thing is, grand piano.
Yeah.
You will be more productive from that 8 to 2. Do it every day. Don't do it every other day. Don't do it once a month or 5 times a month. Every single day, get in the studio. Do the 8 to 2. I don't care if you have a gig that night.
Yeah.
Do the 8 to 2, then do the gig.
Yeah. Because then you'll be fresh.
That's what the Beatles did.
Yeah,
they did it for years.
Fresh. Yeah.
Stones, all those guys did it for years.
Yeah.
Know?
And then like you said, to like just bring it back to the bad habits, like once you do those late night sessions for like a week, you're like, oh, like, yeah, I can like get fucked up every night and make music. And it's just like that bad habit starts. If you don't click out of that, you're no longer making music. You're just like having fun and like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. And then you're like wasting your money or wasting the studio's time, and like
nobody's going to take you seriously.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like that does happen to a lot of bands in the space. And it does happen to, I mean, look at the 80s in film. Like every single movie was made with people doing blow the whole time. Like you can look at movies where like it's just unhinged horror movies. You're like, every single person from the lighting dudes to the directors to the actors were just blitzed. And you look at those movies and you're like, these are hot garbage. Like it's just, at the end of the day, it's just really not conducive to good work and just grabbing the day by the tits and fucking just working with it. You know what I mean?
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 10 was bad habits. So those are mistakes. We're all business owners. Some of you listening are probably in your first year or two.
Like me, yeah.
Or a few years. Take some notes, man, because those are mistakes.
And it's like, it's important to make mistakes for sure. Like you have to. But it's just, you know, realize that they are a mistake and work to not make them again, because
the fewer you can make, the better.
Yeah, because it's like first time, shame on whatever, and then the second time, shame on me. And it's just like, you got to get past that and not, because it's like once you do it a couple times, it becomes insanity. Like you just got to get past it and really reflect and recognize that it is a mistake. But you can get past it because it's not the end of the world at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you don't want to overcome everything through trial and error either. Yeah. Like that's
it's
way too primitive.
Yeah.
It's going to take you forever. You're going to frustrate. You're going to get pissed off. Like
it's way easier learning from other people's mistakes.
Come out from the shadows, stand on the shoulders. Like, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Podcast. That's in the bag. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Take care.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. And if you'd like to be notified of more episodes, please be sure to follow the Creative Island Podcast now.
Want access to exclusive content, our community newsletter, live events, and so much more? Visit creativeisland.online today to join the Creative Island community.
See you at the top.